Are white people the more attractive race? The answer is a personal yes, and I bet to a lot of people. I don't have to explain why because they agree with that answer. To many, they would say no while secretly thinking yes. However, please don't get me wrong. It is not my personal opinion, but an opinion many non-white people have. But how many? Most people would say most. I always heard people say that most races find white people to be the most attractive. And they use marriage and dating site statistics to prove it. I even once thought that the statistics would show a majority of black and brown people date and marry white people like, maybe 60%. Or even 51%, but no. It is still a minority. It is true, according to Google summaries, that white men and Asian women generally receive more messages and attention, but many black and Asian most. Black and Asian people still marry, within their race and even within their ethnic group. Also, from a study linked in the description, Asian and Latina women prefer white men, but black women prefer black men. And it seems a lot of people know that. So why do they then base black women's attractiveness on whether other races find them attractive like it matters that much in such a case? By the way, this video is going to jump from place to place, because it's more of me just spilling thoughts and opinions. So, does all this mean that white people are more attractive in general? The problem with this question is that people act so pretentious about it and generalize. These studies are done in white majority countries, where ethnic groups mostly date within their ethnicities even more than race. People like to generalize these studies and thoughts to the whole world. People in other continents find white people to be the most attractive, without evidence. However, I'm not going to lie and say that many countries don't find certain aspects commonly associated with white people attractive. But which way does it go? There are 3 words I'd like to teach you if you don't already know. Colorism, discrimination towards darker skin tones. Featureism, discrimination based on features common within certain ethnic groups. Texturism, discrimination based on hair texture. Though some say this can fall under featureism too. These are bigger than just whether others find you attractive. They can affect your everyday life, but I'm going to talk about them in this context. People in many African, South American, North American, European, and Asian countries have a deep-rooted preference for light skin. But is it always due to colonialism? Or is it because people find white people attractive? Or do people want lighter skin because they find white people attractive? Or do people find white people attractive because they prefer lighter skin? If certain groups of people saw a darker-skinned white person, let's say from Italy or Spain, would they still find them attractive? And people say that the preference for light skin is due to colonization, but others argue that even before getting colonized by white nations, many countries already had a preference for lighter skin. For example, East Asian countries like China and Korea, and African countries like the kingdoms that once existed in West Africa. For East Asian countries, more people seem to think and acknowledge this. It was due to classism. Rich people could afford to stay inside, while poor people had to work outside in the sun. I'm unsure about the general consensus for South American countries, but in Europe the same thing applies. And I'm guessing in North America too. However, when it comes to African countries, people don't usually bring up the potential that lighter skin may have already been a beauty standard long before outside influence. I've only seen it mentioned briefly twice. The popular belief is that dark skin was celebrated. That never really sounded that convincing to me. Just because in certain African countries, people had brown skin tones, does that mean dark brown skin tones would have been the beauty standard? Now let us go to Asia again. This time Southeast Asia. I have actually seen talk that really dark skin tones were the beauty standards in ancient India. To jump again when people say they're attracted to a Latina, they don't include Afro-Latinas. Now on to featureism. Unfortunately, within certain ethnicities and continents, they tend to showcase people with certain features as the most beautiful features that are more Eurocentric. People don't like the word Eurocentric because they believe it's just another way of saying European. But Eurocentric means features that are more digestible or more palatable for white people and, in some cases, other ethnic groups. Features people would say are more common in white people, or less common within a certain race. This could include nose shape, face structure, eye color, skin tone, hair texture, and many more things. You can call out people for liking someone's beauty only because they have Eurocentric features. And you can also call out people who say someone is only beautiful because they have white features. I found some definitions online with examples, focusing on European culture or history, to the exclusion of a wider view of the world, implicitly regarding European culture as preeminent, seen from the point of view of Europe or European people, considering Europe or Europeans to be the most important. The classical Eurocentric view of how mathematics developed. He said most Americans have a Eurocentric view of world history. She argues that, in Britain, most research has been carried out by white researchers, whose approaches have been Eurocentric. I don't see it as much anymore, thankfully. But people used to make videos showcasing attractive people from their ethnicity or race, and they would usually have more Eurocentric features and features that are less common within said group of people. Now, I believe that sometimes the use of the word Eurocentric has gone too far. People use it to describe the features of any attractive non-white person, even when they're common within that race. But that doesn't mean featureism shouldn't be talked about. When I see people talking about the most attractive black women, they are usually mixed-race women. That's because they can get away with that in some societies, like in North America and, as I surprisingly found out, in some European countries too. These women are rated the highest. I do understand that it's hard to keep track of percentages when it comes to race, but at the very least, half black, half white biracial people should also be counted under white representation. Not just black, if they're going to be included in black lists. When it comes to the attractiveness of people in African countries, they don't usually mention countries with white skin populations, but it's not rare to see that. What you do often see is the mention of majority black nations with more Eurocentric features, or features that are less common within other ethnicities in the black race like Ethiopia, Somalia or Eritrea. And when someone dares not to find those features the most attractive, everyone has a problem and acts like something is wrong with that person. It's like everyone knows you have to say people from those countries are the most beautiful, their lighter skin, looser hair texture, more delicate facial features. That's what you're expected to say. But if you put certain countries on the list, like some West African nations, people find it funny. Like they can't imagine people finding women from those countries attractive. And yes, it's almost always women who are being ranked. I once saw a list where South Sudan was finally featured on an African countries with the most attractive women list. It was ranked 4th, and people were saying it should have been 1st. But probably just because the usual countries weren't featured. It's strange though. That country had never even been mentioned in previous lists. Maybe it's because they have dark skin and very curly hair. That doesn't usually align with what's stereotypically praised in beauty standards unless another culture starts liking it first. This also presents itself within ethnic groups, not just between them. In India, for example, people tend to praise North Indians more. because their skin is fairer and their features are perceived as more Eurocentric. Aishwarya Rai, called by some the most beautiful woman in the world, was thought to be North Indian, partly because of her green eyes and pale skin. A lot of Indian actors are believed to be North Indian for that very reason. The ones who rise to the top are often the ones who match these lighter beauty ideals. In Nigeria, skin bleaching is very common. And people say Igbo women are the most beautiful because their skin is usually lighter. So people generalize the beauty of a whole ethnic group based on skin tone. In Ethiopia, people with darker skin are seen as less attractive, as are people with curlier hair or broader features. Skin bleaching isn't unheard of there either. In South Africa, people don't think highly of really curly hair or deep brown skin tones. In East Asia, people prefer high nose bridges, which, while common in white people, do naturally occur in East Asians as well. There's actually debate about this, whether Koreans wanting certain features has anything to do with white influence at all, especially if those features already exist naturally within their population. Now let's talk about the media. I think I've underestimated just how important media is in shaping what people find attractive. I've seen how people swoon over Korean men because of K-pop, or Japanese women because of anime, or even Thai people because of what? Let's just say, certain kinds of tourists have been saying and sharing online. I've seen videos of black people's experiences in countries like Korea and China, where locals form stereotypes just based on media, movies, music, even cartoons. And even in places that should know better, like the USA, media still plays a massive role. I also believe people who rely too heavily on the media are, well, kind of being foolish. Both the ones who form negative opinions based on it, and the ones who base their entire self-worth on it. Like, boo-hoo, you don't like yourself, because the media and white people don't like your hair or skin. That's not okay, but you also can't let that define you. And on the other side, stop being stupid. Of course, people of color aren't all like what you see on TV, the same way white people aren't all like the characters you see in movies. Fictional media made for entertainment shouldn't carry this much power. But unfortunately, it does. It's funny too, when majority white societies start liking a certain feature, suddenly people start loving themselves for having that same feature. You now proudly say your ethnicity has big bums, big lips, almond eyes, curly or wavy hair, or a curvy figure, features you used to be ashamed of. But when it comes to dark skin, wide noses, monolids, or really curly hair, people still hesitate. They deny those traits or act like they're unattractive. I saw a video about South Africans who used to hate big lips until countries far away started getting lip fillers. Suddenly they were proud. They also started liking curvy women with big bums because that became trendy overseas. Make no mistake, this happens within white communities too, though it makes a bit more sense when it happens within your own society. It's still strange when a white ethnic group starts needing validation from another white culture before feeling attractive. Like, why are people waiting for white Americans or English people to say a Greek or Slavic nose is beautiful before appreciating it? Also, not every white person is seen as attractive, even within white societies. They don't all have desirable features, and many are considered average or even unattractive by white people themselves. People love to act like being white is a cheat code for beauty, especially abroad, but that's not true. In many countries, being white does get you attention, but it doesn't mean you're automatically seen as more attractive than everyone else. That's a myth people like to spread. You don't often hear people say they don't date white people because of a bad experience, or because one was racist, or because they were bullied by one. But the same logic is constantly used against Black, Asian, Latino, and other people. Oh, I had one bad experience with a Black guy, so I don't date Black men anymore. That sounds ridiculous, but people say it seriously. There was a story I read online about a man who kept dating racist white men and still only wanted to date more white men, even while blaming Black men for being mean to him that one time. It's irrational. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if people had these preferences and kept it to themselves. But the issue is how loud they are about it. These are the types of things that can be weaponized against non-white groups. Then there's this idea that basic white girls are seen as beautiful, and I agree. But people also feel that way about basic girls from other ethnic groups, like Somali or Ethiopian girls. So who says it's wrong to hype up basic beauty from every race? Maybe it would be healthier if average-looking girls from all groups were celebrated, not just the ones with extreme or rare features. To answer the question, are white people the most attractive race? It's complicated. It really depends on how you define attractiveness, where you live, your social and media exposure, and your personal upbringing. But what's clear is this attractiveness is not objective, even though people try to act like it is. A lot of what we think is attractive has been shaped, sometimes subtly, sometimes blatantly. It's shaped by colonization, classism, media, internalized racism, and even survival tactics in certain societies. Some people grew up believing that being lighter, thinner, or having a certain nose or eye shape is just better. They don't even realize they've been trained to think that way. So yes, it makes sense why some people might say white people are more attractive, even if they don't truly feel that way, or have never questioned where the preference comes from. Then there's also projection. Some people assume everyone finds white people attractive because that's what they find attractive. Others deny their true preferences because they've been told it's wrong or unnatural to prefer something that isn't mainstream. You also have people who act like one race's beauty can be measured against another's, as if every race doesn't have its own beautiful range, flaws, and average people. It's lazy thinking, and it reduces humans to trends. And don't get me started on people who say things like, "I don't find Black women attractive," or "Asian men aren't attractive," statements that would never be tolerated if reversed. Imagine someone saying, "I don't find white women attractive" on a public platform. The reaction would be intense. But people think it's okay to say those things about other races. Also, stop pretending the only reason someone is beautiful is because they look mixed or white. People can be beautiful within their racial group without needing to resemble another. Eurocentric features aren't the standard of beauty, they're just one standard that's being pushed harder than others. Remember, this is just me spilling words, but if you want me to go further into my opinions on certain topics or want me to research things, please tell me in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and give your opinions.